And our last segment on our tailgating special is Betsy Cornell, who is food service supervisor. That's kind of tough to say. You probably don't use it a whole lot. I don't say that. For Alliance City Schools. And Betsy, how long have you done that job?
I'm just starting my 31st year.
Wow, wow. We've cooked a lot of stuff here, huh?
Yeah, we've
fed
a couple of generations
yes,
now.
You have. All right. So Betsy is going to use some of the vegetables that are right here at our garden, and you're going to see some shots of the garden later on throughout the show, because this has been here 2 or 3 years.
This is our 3rd year.
All right. So as we're going along, we'll talk a little bit more about the garden. But what are you going to make today?
Today I'm going to grill some tomatoes and some zucchini and yellow summer squash.
That looks like nice squash.
And some of these I did get at the farmer's market. Our garden's getting a little slow. Some eggplants. The eggplants came from this garden and the community garden on
Union
Webb, North Webb.
Okay.
And some peppers as well. The peppers, these came from the
purple
farmer's
pepper,
market,
yeah.
and these came from our garden here at the high school. So, I'm going to do it.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, well, the big thing is to try to get people to like to eat vegetables, and I think that grilling it really helps. And yeah, it would be nice if we could grill for the kids at school, but that's not really practical. But we do try to do quite a bit of grilling, of like what we call oven roasted vegetables, because we do have a nice oven that goes hot, and then we steam a lot. So we use a lot of fresh vegetables, and we use, we use frozen more than canned. And one of the things we like to do is at least add seasoning. So we can't produce enough vegetables for the whole school, but what we can do is produce some herbs. So this rosemary, these 2 kinds of basil, all came out of the school garden.
Now during the summer, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but you can keep working, but you have students that work in the school garden that help you?
Right. In the summer we have a few groups. We have child and adolescent behavioral services, and they have what's called group, and they meet 2 days a week. And then this year, Mr. Miller, one of our science teachers, came 2 days a week and volunteered in the garden and did activities with kids there. So we were able to keep the garden well tended. Now we're in transition, and the kids from group are just coming 1 day a week, and then Mrs. DeMilo's foods class is an international foods class, and some of Mr. Miller's science classes are transitioning to work in the garden.
And I'm sure a lot of kids have never seen rosemary that's not in a bottle or
container. What I'm going to do with the rosemary today is use it as a brush to brush my oil on the vegetables, and that's going to impart a little bit of a flavor. Earlier, I took the basil and some oil and a little bit of rosemary, and I blended it and put it in a jar that here it is. I blended it up and made like an infusion of oil. So I'm going to be using that to put, and I put garlic in it too. So I'm going to put that on my vegetables. So I've cut some of the peppers in half, and then I'm going to put them in, and I took the seeds out, and I'm going to drizzle some of this on it. And I would have a glove, but I'm just going to use the tongs because I've gotten out of the habit of putting my hands on it. Now peppers are going to cook kind of quickly, so if I was really thinking, I would have done this last and maybe done some of the other ones first, but we'll let that kind of marinate in here. Onions, I usually just use a little olive oil spray. And
you is that a sweet onion, a Vidalia?
Yeah, this is what's called a candy onion.
Ooh,
and these ones are white onions. I cut these just in a little zigzag to get a little more surface area on the grill. But
plus that helps kids to eat them.
And it looks kind of fancier, right?
Now, candy onions, I had never seen them until a couple years ago at the farmer's market. Have they been around forever?
I don't know. I got it at the farmer's market as well.
But I've seen them at several farmers markets.
Right.
But you don't ever see them in the store, candy onions, I don't think.
That's one of the advantages of doing local is that you get some of these things that maybe people have been growing in their gardens, but not really available commercially. when you're done with your grill, it's good actually to leave all this stuff on if you've had something like chicken skin or something. It sounds gross, but it's better because if you clean your grill all the way in the at the end and then you leave it for the season, you come back and this is rusted. So oil your grill, or what I learned a lot about grilling from Gene Grubb. Oh. And he always said just leave it and then scrape it down when you go to use it the next time when you get it hot.
I knew there was a reason why I was lazy after I
Yeah, it's a great excuse. So we're going to hope we have enough heat here. The other thing is you can kind of tell your temperature by counting. So if I put my hand here to where, and I count like 1, 2, 3, and I have to pull it away, it's pretty close to about 300 degrees.
And is that the ideal temperature for vegetables?
I think I would rather have it be a little hotter. And this grill doesn't really lower, but we can see how much heat we get. I also brought, in case we have problems, I brought a Dutch oven, which I'm more of a campfire cooker than a barbecuer. Okay. And I use this cast iron a lot. I've made cakes in it, stews in it. And then you bury it right in the coals, and that gets hot. So that's another way to do it.
I didn't have a Dutch oven until about 10 years ago, and I think, how did I live without a Dutch oven?
Right.
So I bought some for my kids for Christmas because
yeah, they're great. But I think if I just put this over it, it'll maybe help hold some of the heat down. Okay. That'll get it going. Another thing I like to do sometimes is beets, and we won't have enough heat here, but I can show you that. You can either butter it or oil it, or just wrap it up. And now I left the skin on, and what I would do with this is wrap it and twist it. And if I might be able to actually, I think the foil would burn, but I would keep that really low and maybe a double foil, and then put it right in the coals. And the heat really caramelizes that sugar that's in the beet. And when you pull it out, and it cools a little, you can use the foil to pull that skin off, to rub the skin off.
Easily,
yeah. We could see what happens. I'm going to double it up because this isn't very heavy.
The other thing is when you're cooking beets in the oven, make sure you put them on a cookie sheet or something, because I've had them leak out.
The juice, yeah, that's the nice thing with cooking outside. You don't have to worry a lot about all that juice. So I'm going to try to just see if we can get it under there, and we'll see what happens. I should have a longer tong here. Here it is. I don't think they did us a favor by ironing, putting that there. Let's see. I'm just going to put a bunch of these up closer.
How do you typically serve your beets at home? Because I know that it's probably not something that's real popular at school other than on a salad bar, but.
Well, we like Harvard beets. Kids a lot of times will do that because it is sweet and sour. Just like people like barbecue. I think it's that sweet taste. We'll see how that goes.
I like to
could kind of
slice
bury
mine
it a little.
cold and put a little bit of blue cheese and toasted walnuts on it.
Oh, that's really good. As a salad,
yeah,
it is great.
Salad.
I like it as a salad, or just, you know, we're used to having them hot, buttered.
With butter.
And then what I love when I grow them in the garden is to take the little ones, because you're thinning it, and then also eat the beet greens. Oh, okay. And just saute that in butter. So I have my peppers here, and they've been soaked in the oil with the basil. I'm going to lay that on. We are losing our heat here, but we'll see what we get here.
Well, it's not like vegetables are like hamburgers.
That's
so
the thing. It doesn't really matter.
We don't have to worry about the temperature. They just might not be as charcoaled as
right. We'll just have it more al dente.
Okay.
And then on eggplant, I just think it would be good to try, but I haven't tried it before.
That's why
so we're here to experiment, and we'll see what it's like. I don't know. I'll just cut that end off. Sometimes people soak their eggplant in salt to help get the bitterness out, but I never really thought it was too bitter. So
I'm not a big eggplant fan. So
okay, I'm going to try one, cutting it lengthwise.
It's a pretty vegetable.
And it is really pretty. And then I'm going to do one more in circles.
Have you ever seen other colors of eggplant?
No.
At the Cleveland Farmers Market last week, or no, Columbus, I was down there visiting my daughter, and they had this vegetable, and I said, well, what is that? And they said, it's eggplant. And I don't even remember what color it was. Maybe it was orange, but it was not your purple eggplant,
okay.
which is the only kind I'd ever seen before.
And sometimes I think the skin is really hard to eat, but if it's cut in circles like this, it's not usually quite as bad. But why don't we try some peeled as well as not peeled? And hey, if we can eat it, then we know it's good. And we know it has good things in it, but if it just doesn't come out very good, then everyone will know right here on Channel 11. All right, so I'm going to put that right in with that same oil.
Marinade, yeah.
And toss it up. Might need a little more oil with it. I'm using a light olive oil because I really want the flavor of the vegetables to come through, and your extra virgin and some of those can really be, the real green ones, they're pretty strong, and if people aren't used to that taste, then they might think they don't like vegetables at all, but it's really maybe just that taste. So we're gonna get that going.
While she's putting those on, we're also working, our class is working with Betsy on a contest, a salad bar video contest for the state of Ohio, for the Ohio Department of Health, about how schools use salad bars. And so it's going to be fun to work with Betsy and the whole crew down in the kitchen, and hopefully we'll win the contest too.
Yeah, that would be even greater. So we have the eggplant, the peppers, and the onions, and the beet down in the coals. Sometimes I do carrots.
I've never thought of doing carrots.
Carrots on a grill, really, you get that sweetness again. I probably would, if I was doing it and taking it, and especially with this heat, I probably would be better if I microwaved them a little bit to pre-cook them. So I actually have a helper nearby that I'm going to give the carrots to and ask her to microwave them till they're just al dente, a little bit harder than that, and then we'll try that. These are yellow, like a yellow zucchini, and I'm just gonna cut it lengthwise.
Now, did you say those are from the farmer's market?
These ones are from the school garden. The eggplants are. The tomatoes are. Some are from the school garden and some are from the community garden on Webb.
Now, how did you come up with the idea of the garden here at the high school?
Well, we have summer meals here, and so since we're here all summer, I've gardened since I was a little kid. I just thought it would be really nice to share the vegetables and things with the kids. And one year I had an abundance of cucumbers at home, and I brought them in, and the families were really glad to have them. And so that's what really got me thinking that it would be nice to have the vegetables that you could share with the community and with the summer meal kids. And I started with just one raised bed. It was 3 by 12 feet, and the deer really, really wiped it out. Then last year with a grant from Stark County and work from the Beach Creek Botanical Garden, they put in the big garden, and we had more beds built. And that was really, really helpful because I just did not have time. And then the vocational class built the fence, and that was through Livewell Stark County that paid for the materials for the fence.
So that was the construction trades, and then welding department built our.
And actually, the wood for the raised beds came from the deck that construction trades tore down from your house.
Oh. See how we all work together.
We worked together.
Yeah, he was happy to have that wood. I'm glad it got
used.
It
did. You didn't know that it was being used for that, right? Okay. So how are we doing over here? We got to do something about getting a little. Well, we're getting a little charring, and but not too much. I kind of like to start this way because it does help steam it.
So you mentioned when you were talking about your Dutch oven and you camp a lot. Where do you camp?
Mostly we camp practically. Like if you go on a trip, we just bring tents. So we've gone trips to national parks, and then you just camp in a tent on the ground and build a fire. We used to ride dirt bikes, and we would go on vacations where we would just ride the dirt bikes and just live in tents and build the campfire and cook there. Wow. So I guess I'll get this a little more out of the way. But that did get some heat to it, so let's see how our onions do in here. use this as a pot holder.
Starting to get the bees out too, as well, I guess.
Whoops, getting a little bit here.
Now, do you do demonstrations each year down at Farmers Market, or?
I have. This year, my husband and I talked to people about canning tomatoes.
Okay.
And I just came from, at the Farmers Market is trying this year to have something called the Kids Corner. And once a month, they do activities for children. And the unicycle group just did unicycling, juggling, jump rope, just ideas to remember to keep active, to keep fit, to try to be active 60 minutes a day. And we had a lot of kids really enjoying the jump rope, and some finally making a little effort on trying to learn to ride the unicycle. It takes about 10 hours usually for a pretty coordinated person to learn to ride the unicycle. So,
how did you get into that? What made you start riding a unicycle?
I had tried to ride when I was like in my early 20s, and somebody where I was living had a unicycle, and I just couldn't figure it out. And then I kept reading about them teaching it in Sebring, and so I went there and I said, "Is it just for kids?" And they said no, and I kept trying, and I learned when I was 54, and I've been riding 6 years. So.
Wow.